Good morning. Welcome to my preptober planning video for NaNoWriMo this year. It is currently Sunday, October 29th. I just got back from a Pilates class and I'm about to make a iced matcha to give myself some pep in my step. Obviously showered, and now we're ready to get to work. We're loading up on the ice because I feel like I need a very cold drink this morning. I've been loving this Chamberlain coffee strawberry matcha latte, like powder stuff, for making my matchas lately. I usually do like a scoop and a half of this little cute scooper. Got the oat milk. It's not my favorite type of oat milk, but it's all we could get this time, tragically. I want to do something a little special for myself this morning since it's going to be like an absolutely insane day of productivity. So we're going to add some frozen little strawberries to the matcha. I think that'll be cute. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's get onto the couch and let's dive into planning this book because Lord knows I need it right now. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and download the free trial version of Scrivener. From my understanding, Scrivener is essentially a software where not only can you like draft, you know, like you would in like Microsoft Word, but also it has like world building tools and outlining tools and research tools. So I'm kind of intrigued. So let's go ahead and download that. So the plan for today, and we'll see how it goes, is to transfer over all of the notes, the chapters, etc. that I have into this new software. Hopefully either flesh out or clarify some of my ideas. There's been a lot of realizations I've been having the last couple weeks of like maybe plot holes or things that I need to sort out within the government, etc. I've started getting more of an idea of how like the geography is laid out. So any of that I can have just a little more solidified going into Nano, I think would be extremely helpful. I mentioned in my first NaNoWriMo announcement video that I've been doing all of my writing in Notion so far, as well as all of my like note keeping, outlining, etc. Not the most fitting software, I feel like, for writing, at least not in the way that I have come to know and use Notion. I'm sure I could make it work a little bit better if I really wanted to, but I just feel like having a fun, exciting new software where everything can feel really organized and intuitive will make the whole Nano process a lot more fun and easy. So that's why I want to get Scrivener. So far, I've been taking very much a hybrid plotter pantser strategy, I would say. Obviously, I had some semblance of notes and outline going into the story. I knew generally the story arc, but also, and I've heard other people describe this as well, I feel like I'm writing a chapter and then getting the ideas for the next two chapters. Writing the next chapter, getting the ideas for the next two chapters. So it almost feels like I am outlining as I go, because in the midst of writing a chapter or as soon as the chapter's finished, I'm able to jot down notes for what I want to happen in the next scene or the next few scenes, or even something later in the book that suddenly is clear to me. So I feel like I'm kind of outlining as I go. All of that is to say, I'm not going to stress too much about having a chapter by chapter outline going into Nano. I'm way more concerned with kind of clarifying some of the details that I've discovered, and also kind of sorting out where in the story do certain revelations and certain character dynamics shift, because that is something I've noticed I'm having trouble with. For example, with the two main characters and their like sort of romance plot, I am still trying to figure out where does the romance start, where does the tension really start, and how is that going to interact with the plot. So that's definitely something I want to do some thinking about as well. Okay, so let's open up Scrivener. I'm very excited. Okay. Oh my god. I launched the tutorial. I'm a little intimidated. Never mind, I'm very intimidated. This is kind of cool though. Okay, so the first thing that I think we're gonna do is input each chapter as a document. So I'm gonna be pulling everything out of Notion and dumping it in here and seeing how that feels. This is gonna be intense. This is an intense overhaul. I'm going off of the novel template, but I have a feeling I'm gonna be changing it a lot because I'm gonna majorly simplify it and alter it for my uses. It doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to do a world building web, which I'm kind of bummed about because those look so fun. Maybe one day I'll get a software where I can do a world building web, but I will be able to do like world building corkboard, so that's kind of cool. okay. I like this. I like this a lot. I'm getting very excited. Okay, so one of the things that I really need to figure out is, can you add notes to a specific line? Because I think that would be extremely practical if I could just highlight a bit of text and then leave myself a note for later. The way that I was doing it in Notion, I'll show you guys really quick, is, for example, here, I just added this note of, do we start right at the dinner? So I was just adding notes in italic red font, which worked okay. It's a nice way to have it right in the text, but if I do want to be able to read the text normally and not have to skip over those like red notes, it would be cool if I could have those just like off to the side or something. Let's see if that's possible. I feel like it has to be possible. Okay, I think I've discovered it. I think I've discovered it. Looks like I can just add a comment here. Do we start right at the dinner? I feel like this could be hella useful. Although I don't love how obnoxiously hyperlinked and boxed the text now is. I wish it just kind of didn't affect how the text looked. This is cool that you have this little notes section here, so I could see myself using that for more general notes about things I want to add to the chapter, etc., that aren't about like a specific line. So far so good. I'm gonna go ahead and input the rest of the chapters, and then we'll see if we can get into the juice of some of the world building and outlining type of stuff. All right guys, it is several hours later. We are back with a smoothie now. We've switched out our beverage. I've been paws deep in Scrivener for the past couple hours. I'm obsessed. I'm having so much fun putting everything in here, and I feel like it's just gonna fit my needs really amazingly. It already has me feeling inspired and excited to work on this project, so I'm just gonna take you through and show you what I've been doing so far. So first off, I have this manuscript section. This comes from the novel template, and I've just been inputting all of my chapters into here. As of right now, we have 11 chapters, though only some of them are fully written, and then there's other ones where it's really just like notes of what's gonna happen in the chapter. I started jumping around a little bit because there were some scenes where I didn't quite know what I wanted to happen, and I knew what I kind of wanted to happen for a future scene, or I was inspired for a future scene, so I'm allowing myself to jump around a little, but that's why it gets a little sketchy. I also have this new page for future lines where I'm essentially putting lines that don't have a home yet, but that I want to use in a future scene. So I'm feeling really good about the structure so far. Up here we can see, yeah, I have a total of 15,290 words thus far. I'm able to put little notes off to the side, which has been really helpful when I have notes on a specific chapter. And then what's also cool is that you can put a synopsis up in the upper right corner. So for example, if I wanted to summarize chapter 1 as Rhea and Varen have their forced date, Varen learns about the wall. Let's say that was my summary. Now when I go back to the manuscript view, it just gives me that summary for chapter 1. So this is really good. I feel like if you need to like reorganize scenes or just get a glimpse of your story's flow, I'm freaking obsessed. Okay, so that's the manuscript section. Then I also have this character section. So again, this was coming from the novel template, but what I've done here, and I'm really excited about this, I have these illustrations that I pulled from Pinterest. They're basically just reference images for me to have of vaguely how I'm picturing the characters, so that when I'm describing them, etc., I have a sort of physical reference to look at. I would definitely say Varen's is the most accurate to what I'm actually picturing in my head. I think his is pretty strong. Rhea, I don't have quite right yet. And also one of my friends told me they look like siblings, which I absolutely hate. I think it's just because this designer and maybe the illustrators on Pinterest in general, they tend to put a lot of the same features on their illustrations. So like the nose and the mouth and just like the overall structure of these two faces are similar. But in terms of like their coloring and stuff, I don't actually think it is. I think it's just deceiving because the illustrator does similar looking faces. That's what I'm gonna say. Regardless, it doesn't really matter because I'm not actually putting these illustrations anywhere. They're just for my own reference, just to remember, okay, Rhea has the green eyes, and I think I might make her hair a little bit more red tinted, and Varen has like the curls, which was a realization that I actually got from finding this illustration. So that's the deal there. And then when you go into the specific character page, you can load this character template. So this one, for example, has role in the story, goal, physical description, personality, which I think will be really helpful. I mean, obviously I'm going to customize this template, but at least it'll give me a jumping off point for exploring my characters more, which is something that I feel like I really will need to do at some point during the drafting process. I also realized that I don't have last names for two of my characters, so that's gonna have to happen. Okay, and then I very much loosely started a places tab where I'm going to describe any information or descriptions about the locations in the book, which definitely was something that I had zero ideas for a while. And then I did a little brainstorm with my friend Amina. So shout out Amina, if you are watching this, thank you. Where we came up with some city names and basically just searched for, I think it was exotic birds and crystals. This was, I think, Amina's idea. So shout out to Mina that we pulled from and actually found some pretty fantasy sounding place names. So that's a little recommendation if you're struggling to name your places for a fantasy project. Use like weird categories you wouldn't expect, like crystal names, exotic birds, etc. So these are the 3 places that I have actually named so far. Don't have anything in here yet, but hopefully I can add in this setting sketch template. That's actually very cool. I'll have to do that. Okay, last but not least, I created this notes section. I just think this is extremely practical. So I just have a notes dump. Now this is obviously very unorganized and chaotic. This is literally all the notes that I have for the story, any ideas that pop into my head, whether it's scenes, bits of dialogue, just like ideas about the world, elements that I want to include, like brainstorming. Some of these things have even changed or aren't fully accurate anymore, but it's literally everything that I've brainstormed ever about the book. From my notes app, from the Notion page. So it's a little chaotic, but I think you need a chaotic notes dump for any book project with just anything you've ever thought of. I love that I'm able to just like write quick notes in my notes app and then later dump it in here. So that'll be really useful. So in terms of what I feel like is the next step, I feel like I need to go through and read what I have. And then once I have the context of what's actually on the page, I want to go through my notes and kind of weed out the things that are no longer relevant, jot down anything that came to me while I did the read through, and just have that notes be more useful going into November. Also, I want to pull any notes that are chapter relevant into their corresponding chapters, as well as maybe make some placeholder chapters for scenes or events I know are going to happen in the future, so that I can put any relevant notes into those like placeholder chapters, just so that the notes are a little more organized, because I found myself running into issues where I would write a scene and then I would realize I had a note for that scene that I had forgotten about with an idea that I liked more than what I just wrote. So then I would have to backtrack, and it's just not very efficient. So I want all of my notes and ideas for a specific scene or event or point in the story to be easily accessible when I'm actually writing that chapter, you know? So all that is to say, first things first, I'm gonna do just a read through of the entire manuscript, read through all my notes, and try to start sorting through some of this, organizing it a little bit more. And then I think we'll be kind of ready to dive into Nano. I'm not gonna put any pressure on myself to finish all of the character descriptions and the place descriptions before I start November. I just wanna feel a bit more organized and like I have spots for those notes as they arise. Let's go ahead and do a read through. I feel like I need a refresh on everything I have so far, but can I just say, first impression of Scrivener, I love her, would strongly recommend. Do the 30-day free trial, honestly, and see how you feel about it, because I really like it. Let's freaking do this thing. It's gonna be hard though to read this without instantly trying to edit it. So we're gonna try to not focus on the nitty-gritty details of like the line edits. If there's a note that I really want to keep in mind for future drafts, I'll make a comment. But the goal here is not to be like editing on like a line by line level. We just want to like refresh my memory of the story thus far. Guys, I did exactly what I said I wasn't gonna do, and I got really absorbed in editing chapter 1. I feel like a novice. Okay, we're gonna try this again. No editing. Zilch. I'm just reading. I'm just orienting myself in the story. Okay. So it is actually Halloween night. Quite a few days have passed since we started filming this video. It is literally the day before November. It's the day before Nano starts. I did not get through the entire read through that I wanted to do. I can't remember if I had to go to bed or if I had to do something else. Something happened. So I still have like half the read through to do. And then I want to go through my notes, like do all the things that I mentioned that I wanted to do. So we're gonna try and do that. It's literally 11:30 p.m. I have a fall vibes, lo-fi vibey thing on the TV. I paused it so that the audio is not bothering you, but you know what? Let me play it with the volume low so that it can be in the background. Oh, you can't even see it. It's overexposed. Well, you get the point. Anyway, we're going to get back into it and try to be as prepared as possible for tomorrow. At the end of the day, like regardless of how much I'm able to do tonight, I don't want any of this like more planning stuff, the pre-writing stuff to bleed into November, because I could totally see that preventing me from actually writing and getting words on the page challenge, and I want to give myself the best possible shot I can to succeed at this nano and actually get a high-ish word count. So whatever we can get done tonight, it's gonna be it. And yeah, I'll update you guys once we've made a little bit of progress. I'm excited to get my hands back in the project. Hopefully it's been short enough time where I won't have to reread the chapters I already read. I feel like I'm pretty refreshed on them. So right now we are on chapter 6, and I think I've written like 9.5 chapters, so we're almost through. Wow, I forgot that I wrote some of this, honestly. It's so interesting because I'm noticing that the later chapters that I wrote are way more detailed and vivid and just have more thoughts and depth and just meat to them than the first chapter. I wonder if that's because I was getting more comfortable and getting more into flow, or maybe I was starting to understand the tone and the world a little better, so it became easier for me to actually elaborate on things. I don't know, just an interesting observation, because I definitely feel like when I went back to reread the first chapter, it was starkly underdeveloped, and I think that's why I got caught up a little bit in editing it. But this chapter at least is a lot more fleshed out. Also, I do know that I tend to struggle more with description, particularly environment, physical description. Actually, most description I would say I struggle with. I think I can describe action decently well. Yeah, describing things I find really difficult, like anything with the senses. Just things I'm noticing about my own writing. Tendencies and weaknesses, I guess. Okay, read through is done. I won't lie, I knew I was an underwriter, but I'm really an underwriter. Hot take, I think my screenwriting experience has done me dirty when it comes to writing dialogue scenes. And I was writing a lot of short films, right? So it was dialogue exchanges were literally a few lines. And I think I'm having a hard time readjusting to having longer conversations. So a lot of my dialogue feels kind of stilted. The exchanges feel too short. They don't feel like full conversations. I feel like they're ending too quickly and they're not giving as much as they could, I guess. But maybe some of that is also just first draft vibes, and I need to let it go a little bit and be comfortable with the fact that I'm going to have to do, intense revision, and that's fine. But we're not going to do that tonight. I did make some comments, however, for myself on things that I know I want to change. It gets the thoughts off my chest so that I can continue without getting distracted by the edits I want to make. It only feels right for us to wrap up this video in the same location where I filmed my Nano announcement video. So here we are. Okay, so progress report. It is now literally 1 a.m. It's 12:54. So it's essentially 1 in the morning on October 31st. Tomorrow is November 1st. Little progress report. One thing I did identify, which I'm grateful for, is just some scenes that I feel excited about and comfortable going into this week. So kind of in the middle-ish of the book, they spend some time in a specific city and a lot goes down in that city, both in terms of relationship development, plot development. It's a turning point for Varen very dramatically. It's a very critical part of the story, and I have a lot of ideas for things that I want to happen while they're at this location. So that to me is kind of the logical next scenes to tackle. There's definitely some in-between stuff that I'm skimming over that are more, I guess, transitional scenes that I think are essential and that I'm definitely gonna have to go back and do, but that I'm not dying to write, and I feel like I will lose momentum if I linger on them. So I want to focus on these scenes, which I feel like are really critical, and hopefully those scenes will also teach me more about these characters. I have a feeling that they will, and that will help inform the way that I write the earlier scenes as well. So that's my plan, and I think in order to make that as doable and clear and as good on the first draft as possible as they can be, I think how I'm going to start off tomorrow before I get into writing any words is pulling specifically the notes that I have on those scenes, because I ran into quite a few different chunks of ideas in my just general notes section. I want to pull all of those, create a semi-outline for just this section of the book, because I do have some pretty clear ideas. I think I want to lay out what order things are happening and then work with that and use that as an outline for the next few chapters. I mentioned earlier how I'm taking a mixed pantser plotter approach, and this is really that approach in action. I think clarity in terms of what's happening on which day, what order are these scenes in, I think I need that going into this part, because one of the things that tripped me up the most in the first few scenes that I wrote of the book is just not knowing exactly what order things are happening in, or what time certain information is going to be revealed. When is this relationship going to start brewing? Just a lack of clarity about order has been freaking me out, which I guess makes makes sense why people outline. This section of the book I think will be sizable. I think this could easily take me through the first week of Nano if I focus on this section and get it really done well. So that's the game plan. I think the first few days I'm not gonna film. I'm just gonna focus in, try and find my process, try and find my groove, but I am hoping to get a couple vlogs out during the course of Nano. That being said, I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video. I really liked planning with you guys and dipping my feet into Scrivener, seeing what it's like. There's obviously a ton more that I want to do in Scrivener. I haven't even really started fleshing out a ton of these planning pages, but I think my drafting and revising and my planning and world building, it's all just gonna kind of happen, you know, a bit simultaneously. And I think we'll continue to chip away at the world building and the structure of the book and the outline, honestly, as we go. If you guys are new to this channel and this is the first video you are seeing from me, hello. This is literally only my second video on this channel, but I did create a NaNoWriMo sort of announcement video talking about the project that I'm working on. So if you haven't seen that yet, would strongly recommend seeing that so that you're all caught up on what the project is. And thank you guys so much for subscribing, for leaving sweet comments. I was so pleasantly surprised by the response to my first video. I honestly didn't expect to get a single comment on that video. So thank you guys so much. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed the content going forward. Without further ado, I'm gonna go make probably some Eggo waffles and then go to sleep. So I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.